What up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on? You are listening to the Ray and Dre Show. I go by the name of Dre Manning.
I'm Raymond Vicious.
And today we have a great show for you. We got J.Loren, the lead singer of the band HURT, stopping by to sit down with us via Skype. Oh, it's going to be so amazing. And to top it off, he's allowing us to play some exclusive music from his upcoming project. Ray, I know you're excited about that.
You have no idea excited. We're about to world premiere a song by J.Loren himself from one of his very own personal collections.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube to stay updated on everything that we do. We appreciate your support. Without you, we would not be able to have this show. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, share with your mama's mama, your baby's mama's mama. Anybody that you get in contact with, let them know about the Ray and Dre Show. What up, what up, what up? What's going on? You are listening to the Ray and Dre Show. I go by the name of Dre Manning.
I'm Raymond Vicious.
And we are back. You can stop sending the hate mail to me. Get out of my text. Stop Facebook messaging me about why we didn't release a show last week. Look, shit happens, man. We didn't release a show last week. If you loved everything else that we did, you need to comment more. You need to subscribe more.
And you need to tell these fucking companies to come sponsor us.
Yeah.
That's what the fuck you need to do.
You know what? That's the funny shit. Is the moment I said, well, you know, if you guys send us some money, it was like, you know, the podcast is free. No, fuck that. Send me some money. Let's do this thing and let's do our thing. But I don't want to get too deep into talking about nonsense. Let's not talk about what else, everything else is going on.
Biggest guests, one of our biggest celebrity guests for our show. There's gonna be a lot more, but this is one of the biggest ones.
Yes. So I don't like the way you said that. That was kind of.
I'm sorry. You want to?
Queerish,
yeah, okay. Want to punch in the face. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, from 2006 to 2007, right? Can Jay hear this?
Yeah, he can hear it.
I get it, right? From 2006 to 2007 was one of the hardest years of my life that I remember. I was probably around 18, maybe a little bit younger. I was with an individual for like 7 years. Well, not 7 years, probably 5-6 years, from beginning of high school to end of high school. The breakup was really rough. Like terribly rough. Yeah. And I was going through it. I was never a person that followed certain trends, so I was always going against the current wave. Yeah. Like I listen to rock music. Everybody in my block in Harlem can definitely tell you I listen to rock, I listen to hip hop, I listen to everything besides reggae. Don't get it, don't want to get it. So I listen to everything. So I was always a big metalhead, especially when it comes to my training in martial arts and boxing and in the gym. Metal was a great push for me. And especially rock. That was a great push for me in the gym. So when I was going through what I was going through in 2007, man, I was going through it. And I was trying to find the right music to fit what I was going through. I couldn't find it. And there was nothing really out there that described what I was going through at that time, right? One day, it's me and my boy Andrew. Well,
go ahead. Yeah. It's too late. Hi, Andrew.
Yeah. So we're sitting in his room, we're watching MTV2. This is when MTV2 was kind of the rock station at the time, before New York, for whatever reason, decided to act like rock music doesn't exist. So we're watching MTV2, watching Headbangers Ball. The music is just something nonsense, just trash. And it's more speed metal than anything else. So it's not really anything that we were listening to at the time. Then all we hear was this intro. Dun, 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 dun. And we're hearing that, we're like literally Andrew's walking out the room. I pick my head up, Andrew walks back to the room like, the fuck is that? Hold on. Yeah. Da, 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 da. And then that drop kicks. And then you hear this voice and this singing and the lyrical content and the subject matter. We're just like, and we haven't stopped, and our head is still bobbing. I'm like, who is this? The name pops up. The name of the song is called Rapture. And at the bottom of it, you know, like in videos, they have the little capture at the bottom. Yeah. The words we read is hurt. I look at Andrew. Andrew looks at me. I run upstairs to my computer. Run upstairs to get all the information I can about this band. Fell in love with them since the day I heard that song.
So who's our guest?
So, ladies and gentlemen, man, I have the honor and the pleasure in it, and I feel so humble and Happy about having this man on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, J.Loren of HURT. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yes, you did.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
You did. Ray, Dre, two broke geniuses.
Yeah.
Very, very happy we could make this happen.
What's going on, Jay? How you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's good to talk with good people. I was just home working on, I got a laundry list of things that I'm always doing. I guess I'm a workaholic. And I was sitting here recording, and then I got a message from you guys saying, hey, check out the podcast. And to be honest, I get at least 3 or 4 of those a week. Mm-hmm. But I clicked on your link, and I looked, and I was like, these guys actually seem like good guys.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly rare in the music industry, much less in the real world. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll do this for you, man. Come on.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any chance we get to talk about music and, maybe make people a little bit more aware of the art in the world and the beauty in the world, I'm going to take that. And I'm going to do whatever I can with whatever time I've got on this earth.
And thank you, man. We really greatly appreciate you being on the show, man. Especially me being a big fan. Andre, as an artist, has a lot of questions he really wants to ask you because there were some things that we definitely want to touch base on.
I mean, I just appreciate the fact I was able to be honest with you. Like I told you before we got on the air, just being able to be honest with you and not have to sugarcoat shit for you and say, oh, hey, man, I've always listened. It was just, like I said, setting that foundation and that platform with you made me feel like this is going to be a great interview before we even started.
Yeah, it did too. And the cool part was, I lived seemed like forever in LA back when Capitol Records was there. It made sense for me to be around. And the average attitude in LA is sugarcoating. They tell you things that they don't mean. Yeah, baby, I'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
And I'm a Virginian. I'm an old school Virginian. We have very peculiar traits like brutal honesty, yet really, really valuing treating people with respect. And basically, if a Virginian says he's going to get in a fight with you, either you leave or that's going to happen. Something like that is probably the best way to put it. Yet we're all, most of the U.S. presidents have been Virginians. Mm-hmm. So there's a certain way that we operate, and it is not cohesive with the way that people in L.A. operate. And so I lived there for quite a few years and heard the yeah babies and stuff like that, and I began to just despise that insincerity level, that self-serving thing, because the truth is they wouldn't cross the street to piss on you if you were on fire. Yeah. So there we have it in a nutshell, and I thought it was refreshing that you guys were just completely honest with me. In fact, the song "Caught in the Rain" deals a little bit with the
subject matter of LA. Yeah, I kind of figured that's what he was talking about. Yeah. So definitely, if you don't mind, I want to definitely get into the music, Jay, if that's all right with you.
That is more than all right with me, and I'll be happy to answer.
You guys put out 2 major record label albums. If it 2 other independent, or was it a small major release?
I did it on. I think it was 2 moderates, 2 majors, and several self-published, and etc. I honestly just don't really care about money. I just need enough to stay alive. Yeah. What I care about is that I do a good job, and I can live with myself and look at the mirror in the end of the day. And I care that, of course, the only alluring thing about being with a major is that if you play your cards right, they get the music out there a little bit more. But it's a changing music environment, so you gotta definitely keep to yourself in a certain way. You got to stay true, but then you got to play ball. Yeah. When you're dealing with records, because they call it the music business for the reason of it's both music and a business. Mm. And I am not a businessman. I'm a musician.
Yeah. So with the music, right? Volume 1, Volume 2, Goodbye to the Machine, The Crux. When you guys decided to put like Volume 1, Volume 2, in my opinion, amazing albums, very overlooked, should have been more well received than what it's been. When you guys put those out, it was kind of like during that year when music was changing during the transition. Do you feel like you guys wish you would have released it sooner, or do you feel
I didn't really have a choice. The band had been around before that, probably 8 years-ish. Yeah. And I've been touring up and down the East Coast because, that's all I could do while holding down jobs. And So really, that was the only time where music that was out of the norm got a chance, and I wouldn't yield and make my music sound like somebody else because that's what labels are looking for. You know, they'll literally say, "We want you to sound like Radiohead's popping at the time. We want you to sound more like Radiohead or something like that." That's how they work, and that's not how I work.
Yeah.
So there are certain incompatibilities about someone who is very, very serious about their art and the flexibility required to cooperate with the modern music industry.
Do you feel like because you weren't willing to conform, Capitol Records really didn't find value in Hurt?
They couldn't control me, which was one of their major problems. That being said, you know, I still had to play ball. I had to make concessions, but then I would make, you know, you choose your battles. Like, for instance, the sheer fact that what you described, you know, what you heard with Rapture, in order for me to sign the contract with them, I said the first single must be Rapture.
Yeah, I remember,
Now, what they did is turn around and edit Rapture, which, of course, disturbed me immensely because the song was not accidentally written. I don't sit there and throw dartboards at a dictionary.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote the song exactly the way that I wanted it to be, and I recorded it to the best of my ability with the time and money constraints that we had. If anybody's ever seen the band live, they know that when we perform songs, that there's a clear difference, and most people agree that it's better.
Yeah.
But still, you know, you got to deal with what you got, and I was grateful for the shot. And then when we were talking about making concessions, you know, the first couple of years when this band was on the national scene, nobody knew anything about us. And I had gone so far as to, I didn't get it, unfortunately, in the document, but I had the assurance of the record label that my name would not be on the album. I didn't want to be confused with the music that I was making because the music that I was making was so important to me, and it's the only part of me that I like about myself. And, of course, they went back on their word because, well, they're, you know, what they are. They published my given name along with what people call me. That caused confusion because then people thought that we had a songwriter hired. So then people were feeling like, how can these songs come from the heart seemingly so convincing, and then it looks like, you know,
they're coming from someone else.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, of course, people feel betrayed at that point. So I hate to say I was right, but it's the most unfortunate I told you so that I could ever say. You know, the vision that I had was to get the music out there and let it speak for itself.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just not the way record companies work. So I've had to battle with that. And then when it came to the point of, as the industry was kind of collapsing, Capitol had laid off 65% of their staff, and then a further 18% after that.
Jeez.
So, you know, and I'm talking about that 65 becomes 100, and then 18% of that. So, you know, a lot of people. It was an empty shell of a building, and they said, well, 10 Ton Brick was top 10 at the time. They had just gotten in a new president of the record label. So in order to play ball, this president told me, you know, 10 Ton Brick's a hit. Well, we knew it was a hit. But I had it planned for the next album. He wanted to get that in on volume 2. So I had to accommodate that.
Wow.
And it didn't belong there in the place that it was. So then I wrote Aftermath to try to blend it in because I'm trying to play ball.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Now, the song means just as much to me in sincerity as any other song, but that's not where it was intended to go. I put a lot of thought and planning. But I had to play ball, you know what I mean, in order for this to get attention and funding. By the time the album came out, that president had been blown out and another one was in there, just as predicted.
Jesus Christ.
But they had offered only $10,000 allocated for the video and promotion of 10 Ton Brick, which was making it by its own merit alone, by just the sound of the song, had already made it below the top 10 in modern rock. So the song was strong. The song was something that people identified with, and with $10,000, I'm surprised that you know, due to Anthony Hahn, the video director, and his brother, and the ingenuity they had, they hacked a bunch of these CVS little cameras, the ones that you have to normally bring back to the store to get the footage off of.
Yes.
They hardwired and bypassed that and then set them up in an array around an asylum in California. And we just came in there, did a live performance of the song, And of course, the live performance was real, but we used the studio track instead of the live performance.
Yeah.
And then we had no choice but to make a live performance video, which is the last thing I ever wanted to do. But when faced again with the choice of either people hear your music and you don't present yourself in the way that you want, or people don't hear your music at all, my pride will have to be swallowed every time.
Yeah.
So no, it's not selling out. It's obscurity versus exposure. And when it came to artistic integrity, I've never yielded on the points that I thought were important, and I don't think I ever will.
I want to rewind on something you said. You mentioned that Capitol started firing their staff. I was talking to Ray yesterday. He was in my apartment, and I was telling him I almost was signed to Jive Records. And I sat in the Sony building and watched everyone get fired from the marketing department.
We probably know some of the same people there. In fact, there's a young lady, very pretty lady named Nadia. You would remember her if you ran across her. She was a personal friend of mine. And I know a couple other people there, but the rest of the audience, they don't know those folks, so I'm not going to bore them. But yeah, we probably know the same people over at Jive.
Could you hear that?
Could I hear what?
It was something that just played in our headphones, so it was only us that heard it.
No, I could not hear.
When the layoffs started, that's something that's gonna have to get cut out. So,
but voices, hearing voices. That's
when the layoffs started happening in the Capitol, did it worry you guys? Did you start to feel like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen with us? Because I know you start to see the people you would always normally see,
and the people who were backing you, who were helping you push your music. Yeah.
It didn't exactly worry me because, let's just put it this way, I'm a very good chess player. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and exactly what I thought would happen happened exactly the way I thought it would. It's just unfortunate. If you stop and think about it, the world is the way it is, and the music landscape has changed because at the end of the day, downloading did strongly affect...
it hurt you guys, right?
Yeah, it hurt not really us, but it hurt the record companies, and then the record companies wouldn't help the bands. All right, but at the same time, it's not like they don't have blood on their hands because they abused their relationship with the audience far too long.
Yeah.
They had gotten to the point where, again, I said a $10,000 video, they were spending $1 million plus on a video for a song, and then they wouldn't give you, even $200,000 to make the whole album. And when you consider that these studios that it requires to make rock albums, because you're capturing real live sounds, those are several $1 million to get the equipment together. Plus, you have to get somebody who really knows what they're doing. Especially back in that day, things have gotten a lot easier now.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're just not going to make a good product for cheap and really get it out there. So we just tried to keep everything within enormous constraints, and we were dreaming big and working 20-hour days. And I would commonly hear from record executives, why don't we ever see an album like The Wall anymore? I'd say, well, I can tell you why. Because that took place in, 1967, something like that?
Yeah.
And that was $1 million budget. Okay, that much money and that much time, they had infinite time to make it.
Yeah.
I was like, if you had allocated that much money and that much time to me, I would make something that on its own right, in its own way, would be, not equivalent, but
but I
similar.
mean, your music still was equivalent to some of the things. They just never pushed it the way they should have, or it wasn't able to be brought out to a broader audience the way it should, especially around that time.
Oh, it was mishandled in every imaginable way. I mean, some of the guys that worked on the radio portion for the record company were doing such a fantastic job, and again, the music was standing on its own merit. People would hear it and call and demand it, and these guys would go out and, normally it takes some sweet talking to go to a radio station and get the guy, because they've got a mountain of stuff that people are trying to get them to pay and play, and people are trying to bribe them. And these guys, they're swamped. But they would bring in my product. I hate to call it product, but in this sense, it is a product. They bring in mine, and then the people would say, "You got it. We're adding it." So here I was, top 10. They did a run of 65,000 albums production for Volume 2, and within, say, the first month, 63,000 of the albums were sold. That means Worldwide, there were only 2,000 albums to be found anywhere, and they didn't print more. While we're top 10, we're playing for 15,000 people per night.
I didn't know that.
Even if all we did was sell the CDs at the live show, we would have sold several 100,000 more.
So combined it, I think I've read it was what, 400,000, maybe 500,000 if combined it if you.
I don't know. See, it's just not an accurate representation.
Yeah.
What would be a more accurate representation is, and again, this is where I'm careful not to lambast people for downloading. If my product wasn't available, well, how else are you supposed to listen to it?
Yeah, of course.
So if a more accurate thing is, if you look at the downloads of my album, then you see how many people have on purpose gone and grabbed it. Yeah. And it is multiple millions. Wow. And that makes me feel really flattered. Now, I have to live, a pauper's life, and that's not really a problem. But what makes me, crazy is these companies that were complaining about they weren't making enough money. They had a viable product. They had a product that was art. It was not art that was mimicry of other people's bands, and it was standing on its own. It was demanded by the public, and they still were too stubborn to invest in it. And instead, they wasted $15 million in the production of Lisa Marie's Presley's project, which was about a $15 million loss.
Wow.
So, you get to see that. But again, I'm not too concerned about the business aspect because music will never die. Yeah. Unfortunately, you can make it so hard on musical artists that they will die.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. The lyrical content of your music. Did Capitol Records ever give you a hard time about the lyrical content? Because we all know your music is very... It's real. It's dark. It's gritty. It's upfront. It's in your face. It's very truthful. It's pure. Yeah, it's pure. Yeah. Pure art. Like, did they give you a hard time on some of the subject matter? Because you touched on religion, you touched on drug abuse, touched on, I mean, everything we can think about, whatever you've been through in your personal life. You touched on a lot of subject matter. Did they give you a hard time of going, hey, scale it back a little bit?
Let me put it this way. In one of the songs on the volumes, there's a song called On the Radio. Yeah. And in that song, I love that today is the first in a long time where I felt the need to go on. And then I go on to say, I would murder for it. I'd put words to it. And when it hurts a bit, I thank God for it. All right. So I don't say things I don't mean. Yeah. It would be a very dangerous spot for a record executive to meddle with the lyrics of my songs. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Just scared the shit out of me. I'm all right.
I was at a party for that record label, and I, for better or worse, was the topic was approached after the person had edited Rapture, and he had mentioned doing it something similar, meddling with the music that I'd made. And keep in mind, this isn't just my personal prerogative. Every single day I get messages from people who say that the music, not me, the music, has saved their lives, given them hope and a need to go on. And this man said that he was going to do something to one of my songs. Yeah. I took him aside and I told him that I was going to murder him if that happened.
I know you're
and this man was the most powerful executive at the label.
Wow. You have a ball.
So he called security, and I said, I will murder them and you, or I can leave politely if you promise not to do that. And he scaled it back a little bit, so did I. So if that tells you my approach to what I believe must be, I'm a man of very strong convictions, and I've already covered how a Virginian handles things. They don't say things that they don't mean, and they do follow through with things that they say.
Yeah. So
now, I do not suggest that that's how you treat people. I don't think that behavior is okay. Yeah. But again, when it comes to somebody meddling with something that means life or death to other people, it's not just my opinion. Yeah. That's validated. I have an inbox full of private messages I will not show you. You'll just have to take my word for it.
No, I believe you.
Understand where I'm coming from. I take, the blessings that I've been given, the audience that I've been given so seriously that nothing will stand in the way of doing it to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
My next question, basically, when it comes to certain things, like, I want to touch on a song, if you don't mind, if that's okay with you. Andalai. That song, there are lyrics that's...
Which one?
Andalai, off of
Adonai?
Yeah. Am I pronouncing it wrong?
Adonai.
Adonai, excuse me.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's off of Crux. Now, there are lyrics that really stand out to me because I'm not really a religious person. I'll say I'm more of I'm an atheist to an extent.
Well, I'm not. I don't believe in religion, but I'm spiritual. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sure. So, there are lyrics that stand out to me when you say, "When we reach the age of reason." When you said that really speaks to me a lot, because we can see what goes on in current events. We see what's going on in the world. That really speaks to me a lot, because we see bombings of Muslim extremists.
Yes.
We see.
And I wanted to throw this out here. I do put a lot of thought into the lyrics that I make, and you probably were aware of this, but if the audience wasn't, the Age of Reason was a historical period which started the humanist movement, as far as people, instead of blindly doing what they were told, were trying to figure out how to do things the best way. That was the beginning of the scientific method, and it was begun by "I think, therefore I am." So that very powerful period is what we owe all of the progress of our society to. And it was called the Age of Reason. I would like people to, if they're not familiar with it, Google it.
Thank you for.
So that was meant in more than that was meant in more than one way until we reached the Age of Reason.
Because when you said that, it literally blew my mind, because I'm like, yo, he's right. Like, when we reach when we finally start accepting certain things as more fiction than reality. Like, it's when you said that, it really it took me back, because it's like, wow, he that's really true. Like,
with you saying that, I'm not sure if you've listened to our last podcast. There was something I said where it's this theory that I have, and Ray is saying, like, when you stop believing things is fiction and start realizing that it's reality, and the theory was just like, I'm gonna share it with you. I said, every woman that we've ever loved, whether it's down to our moms, the women that we've married, at some point in time, another man viewed him as a hoe. Now, it wasn't necessarily saying she's out there, prostituting and getting money for these things, but where the way we as men sometimes view women, we'll go, oh, she's a hoe. Oh, so she's down to sleep with the whole team, and it's like, no, she just does these things for me, and then it's not looking at like, no, she cares about you. Stop making up this story about like how she's something else, when the reality is this is a woman that cares about you. She genuinely cares about you, and she's willing to do anything for you. But you label her as a hoe or a whore or a skank, whatever the case may be. And that's what I was saying. That's what I mentioned in the last show. And it's something that helps me like move on. Like, I'm not gonna sit down and go, oh, my mother's like sanctified, she didn't do anything. Look, she did something, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? And I have 3 other siblings, and that's something that I've come to accept certain things.
Somewhere along the lines, and again, this probably I know it had to do with the particular mandates of religion. Somewhere along the lines, people had put it forth, either for control reasons or other reasons, that there was something terrible about having sex. Sex is one of the most beautiful things that can be. And, I refuse to objectify a woman. What I will say is, to me, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I know that is such an idiom that you're not going to really think of that. But I can think of no higher art than the presence, the personality, the whole package of a woman. And I'm such a sucker for them. I really, as you can probably tell, I'm
no, really, I never thought. No, I didn't hear anything on any album about any woman.
Right. But that's not objectifying. That's appreciating.
Yeah.
And I hate to see movements like the third wave feminism, because what I'm seeing in that is not only a double standard. I think that there can be no worse lack of respect for women than to not appreciate whatever they are, however they want to be. You know, James Brown put it this way, you know, it's a man's world, but that don't mean nothing without a woman or a girl. And women are so powerful.
Yes.
And they're not powerful in the same ways that we are. They are in their own ways. They have powers beyond what we have, and I'm fascinated by them. I think that they're just. I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm half Italian, so I come from the school of thought that there's something beautiful about every woman.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I really do believe that.
So, Jay, I wanna talk about, because I know a lot of the fans are gonna want to know about this, and I hope you don't mind me bring this up. The current state of HURT. As we can see, a lot of members aren't with the band anymore. It's down to you and the drummer. I think Victor, that's his name, right?
Yes, he's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, Victor. Can I ask you from the beginning of HURT to where you guys are now? What made that transition happen from you and God, I knew all these names from the beginning and like
just the moving pieces, like what led up to it from being in this full band to, you know, kind of just you and the drummer, you and Victor.
Well, necessity requires change, and although I am a very poignant person, it's not usually attitude conflicts. It has been the hardships of finances and things like this. So, for instance, just the other day, I talked to Rec, my previous bassist. And you know, I have so much love for these gentlemen that have joined in, put their heart and soul in there. You know, their contributions are shown throughout the albums and marked indelibly through time. And, you know, I was at the point where I could not afford to even help them, like to pay their bills while they weren't home. I had given everything that I had, every money that I made to be paying their rent so they wouldn't be homeless like I was. I was homeless.
Oh, wow.
And I was paying whatever I could, and even that was not enough after a while, and they can't starve to death. I mean, as much as, yes, this is my thing, but it became their thing too, and it wasn't lack of conviction or dedication. They had whole lives, and what I mean by that is, you know, a full family that loved them, people that depended on them. They weren't in the position of reckless abandon that I was in. So, you know, they would say that I can't do this any longer, and what they meant was I can't do this any longer. And they just couldn't. So it, you know, would break my heart every time, and you know, it just had to keep on happening. The one exception being the bassist before Rec, Josh Ansley. He was a trained Shakespearean actor. Shakespearean's not a good way to say it, but he trained at the Globe Theater, which is synonymous with Shakespeare.
I know he moved on to film, right? Was it that he was like
correct?
He was directing on films and stuff.
We were playing for approximately 15,000 people that night, and he came backstage and says, "Jay, I need to talk to you." And I said, "Oh man." No, and I looked at him, and I'm very intuitive, especially when it comes to my band members. Like they're my family, and I already knew what he had to say, and I said, "Could you give me 2 weeks notice?" And he said, "I'll give you as long as it takes."
Wow.
And it ended up being a month before he made the transition out of the band. But it's not like people think, you know. It's not. It's not.
Personal.
It's not these stories of you know, I'm doing a bunch of drugs and I'm spun out on an ego trip. We're all very much together on something, and no matter what, you know, no matter who the member is, I bet you could independently ask any person that was involved in, say, the Crux, and ask them if they're happy with what they did, if they're proud of what they did. Was it tough? Yes, but they're all glad that they did it, and they just did their best. They expressed themselves and tried to make something that would stand through the annals of time.
Would you ever sign to another major?
I may, if it seemed like the right thing to do. You know, so it's difficult to talk about the future. I have been in the past a person who dealt in ultimatums, but the Crux itself was about trying to be more, well, I mean, look at my hand tattoos. It's kind of the personification of my nature. But the crux is more about not everything being black and white. It's also, just like anything else Hurt does, there are multiple meanings in it. The crux is also, by definition, is a nearly indecipherable passage of words. There are certain songs in there where that's applicable. The crux is also synonymous with across itself.
Yeah.
And, of course, that has Adonai on the album. And it also has to do with cross as in a crossroads. It was the culmination, if you notice, of all the sounds of all the albums combined. It wasn't a getting back to the roots thing. It was a recognition of the stages and things that we'd gone through, and all of us putting it all together into one cohesive project at the time. And it was a very difficult, meticulously planned project. We didn't want to compete with the volumes. We're doing the Tiger Woods thing. It doesn't matter if you come in first or last. You're in competition with yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a prideful way, because, like I said, it doesn't matter if you come in first or last. I'm not saying that what I do is better or worse than anyone else. I'm saying that what I work on and what the people that join me work on is pure and honest, and that's what matters. That's what makes it art. And that's how people can come at the end of the night, and I make myself available every night that I possibly can, unless I have the flu or something like that, after a show, and we'll be exhausted. Haven't slept in 4 days, and I'll wait around. I came from a classical background where after you would finish a performance, everyone in the orchestra would line up, and you would shake the people's hands and thank them for leaving. And these are professional musicians who've studied for, nearly a lifetime of practice. And they have the time to sit and thank you. So why can't 4 guys take the time to thank you for coming and thank you for listening and really mean it? So that's my perspective and my appreciation for the people that came to listen. And it doesn't go unnoticed. And people tell me things, even though they might, say things that could be taken wrong. Like, for instance, this guy goes, "Man, you guys sound just like Nickelback." And I'm right.
Why wasn't he stoned to death?
Well, hold on, But I saw the way he said it, and I shook his hand and looked him in the eye. I said, "Do you like Nickelback?" And he goes, "I love Nickelback. They're my favorite band." You see what I mean?
That's his way of saying you give me this nostalgic feeling of my favorite band. That's actually great.
I'm very flattered, and that's why I try to make myself available. That's why I take my limited time and my limited abilities. I'm such a freak to try to talk with people one-on-one and answer their emails, try to help them out. People ask me for advice. Sometimes it's in the realms of relationships, unfortunately, and I'm like, dude, I am not qualified. You do not want to do what I do as far as that goes. But anything else that I can help with, I try to.
Just that interaction with your fans, I feel like when you decide to put out this next project, whether you're being backed by a major, backed by anyone, you're being backed by yourself, but your fans are showing you that they're going to have your back.
We have the best fans out there. You're going to see in the responses what kind of people that you're dealing with. Because we have been honest, because we have been, to the best of our ability, available and true to ourselves, people haven't forgotten about us when we go away from the limelight and then we come back again. The core fans of the band has remained the same number. And it will until they literally aren't on the earth anymore. And that is only dependent on me continuing to be honest and true. And I'm so grateful for that, because I'm not in this for popularity. I don't want to be popular. I want to make pure, true music and make a real difference in the world.
Jay, you remind me of my favorite artist is Joe Buttons. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
I am not.
Joe Buttons is a rapper from New Jersey, but he's just like you, just that honest and pure. Money doesn't really matter to him. It's just about telling his story. He grew up with drug-addicted parents, and he tells that story. He has baby mother drama. He tells these stories. And just like you saved Ray during his during that time in high school, Joe Buttons got me through high school and has continued to get me through life.
I'd love to meet him.
I think you guys would create something fucking phenomenal. Like, he does this thing where he does rock over, like, he'll rap over rock music. Like,
Is that a thing that you've ever thought about, collaborations with hip hop artists? Because I've always heard certain artists.
I'm gonna your mind here for a minute. There is my guitar playing on a Mac 10 album.
Wow!
I gotta hear it. Which song was it?
It was. I'm sorry, I don't know his project that well. Yeah. I mean, I had just met him, but I was recording on Volume 1, so I was, for the world's concern, unheard of. And it was my birthday, and I hadn't let loose for a while. I did another 20-hour day in recording with my producer Eric Greedy. Oh man, it was tough times, man. We had like no budget, and we're in this, the cheapest studio possible. Literally, rain was coming down through the ceiling whenever it would rain. And next door is Mac 10, and he's in a better studio, but he's not wallowing in money either. So he's got him and his posse there, and he had a guitarist come in. The guitarist's guitar started breaking on him. It had problems. So he needed to get this done. At this time, again, it was my birthday, so I downed about 2 bottles of whiskey. I was feeling pretty good. Now, I didn't really have the money for that kind of thing, but it was my birthday. I had to let loose a little bit. So I step outside, and I see him and his crew sitting there scratching their heads like, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Where are we going to find a nice guitar? It so happened that I play a Parker. Well, I played a Parker at the time, and that's a jazz guitar.
Okay.
Which can be used for rock, and it's a really versatile guitar. So they were looking for something that could do jazz sounds. So I walked next door. I said, let me help you out, brother. Hook it in, start playing, and they were like, oh my God, that's perfect. You just saved our asses. They were like, hey, can we keep that take? And I was like, of course.
Wow.
And they were like, you don't mind? I said, I don't mind. What do we owe you? I was like, nothing.
Wow.
Just have a good one, man. Yeah. So yeah, I'll collaborate with just about anybody. If it's worthwhile, if it comes from the heart, how can that be bad?
Yeah, of course. Oh, so many questions. I know. All right.
Ask, man.
Here's one of them. Your music now. I know I've spoken to a lot of your fans. I've actually hit up a couple of your fans on your page, and this is what I know. Well, I'm gonna get to this question because I know this is one of the biggest questions everybody has. Is there going to be another HURT album? Is it in the works? Is there a place? Because listen, I see your page sometimes. You'll put up the smallest line in the first words. I don't know if you noticed this. Everyone goes, is this going to be on the next album? Is this going to be the next thing? Is this going to be the next album? So it cracks me up. And I know that all your fans are wondering, I'm wondering, is there going to be another HURT album? Or is it right now you need a break to just sit back and relax and, take time for yourself with everything that's going on with you now in your personal and stuff with the band? Yeah, in life, yeah.
Well, that question can't be answered perfectly in the way it was asked, because I am not sitting here taking a break. What I am doing is dedicating myself toward the writing process. And I have managed to write and record and keep all these plates spinning along with all the rest of the guys in the band for years. But what does any of that matter if you're not writing something with an adequate time put in?
Yeah.
Right. So one of my biggest regrets is the time and monetary constraints on Goodbye to the Machine didn't allow me to realize, what I mean by realize is to make it real, the vision that I had for the album. Because the time constraints were such that I had to write it in a month and record it in a month. And, our ideas were grander than that. They really were. So that's one of my biggest regrets, because we had to compromise in order for, again, being faced with the choice of music or no music. Now, to answer your question a little bit better, I am simultaneously writing, and most of Volume 3 is written, almost all of it. So what I'm doing is planning in order for it to be perfected.
Okay.
Likewise, I'm writing in every genre, everything else, and what may happen because of financial constraints and the difficulty in keeping, say, 4 at a minimum. HURT could be a 3-piece. I've played 3-piece before, but I let the more the better, because we don't use tracks. We don't use any cheats or anything. What you're hearing is what the musicians are playing. Yeah. But at the minimum, 3 people would have to be alive and well and working. So if we can't find a way to do that, then I'm not able to perform the music that I'm making. So that would wait until we figure out a way to get that done. Times are hard, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, very true.
So what could happen, and I have here. I'll show you a working list.
Oh man.
Can you see that?
Shit. Fuck. You just gave us a nugget.
Yeah, God damn.
That's what I'm working on right now. And it's very likely that, when I say it comes from the heart, I do mean that. But there are many facets to me, just like anyone else. I mean, my background is I came from, Appalachia. I lived out in the woods for a while. I'm a fairly unusual guy as far as if you hear those stories, from your grandpa about how you had to go get water from the spring and all that stuff, and I lived without electricity for years. That's how I grew up.
Wow.
So there might be a more folkish, Celtish album coming out that might simply be titled J.Loren.
Okay.
So
now I do have an album name in mind, but I don't want to spring that out there just in case I misspeak, because I like everything to be well thought out, although it does come from the heart.
Okay.
So there's an extreme likelihood that I will see if I can manage to stay afloat while going out and playing the songs with lower expenses, such as perhaps just myself and Victor, or myself and Victor and a third person.
Yeah.
Or if things go well, then I can get, a full iteration of HURT. Of course, Victor's in for the long haul.
Okay.
He's a hell of a guy, man.
Yeah.
Great guy, great family.
Is he touring right now, by the way? I think he's doing
I've gotten him, well, not like he can't get his own, but I mean, I had more experience in the music industry, so I put him out there. As soon as he wasn't on the road, I started texting and calling people that were,
I know he's with another band right now. I forgot the name. I know you posted it one time too.
They're working on a new album right now, so he's always working on music. I want him to be working on music. We're both purists as far as that's concerned. There's no ego involved. Of course, we butt heads on different things, but we know what our objective is, to make as much of the great music as we can. I had the privilege and pleasure of being in the studio with them. Not only it's funny to say it this way, not only is Victor allowed to work on other music, I came in the studio and recorded some violin tracks with them and worked with their singer, who's phenomenal.
Nice.
Just seeing if my input could even help. And there's no influence, just like one singer to another. I'm hearing him do these takes. Oh, and by the way, I give vocal coaching and lessons, so nice. I know what's going on with the singer, even better than most producers do, because, well, I am one.
Yeah.
And I was just helping in any way I could, because I'm seeing the constraints they're under, and I'm like, dude, I'll be there for you, whatever I can do to help, as long as you can get the music out there and make it good. And these guys are capable of making good music.
Would you ever take another artist or an upcoming band under your wing and kind of like guide them?
I actually do that fairly frequently.
Okay.
I don't ask for anything in return, really.
Oh, wow.
There is a young man who's one of my students right now that I've worked with for just a matter of months. And he's come so far, and what he showed me the other day is just really the best enrichment that a musician or a mentor could ever have. The music that he showed me was from the soul and powerful. And I'm considering, and I told him I'm considering having him in my little world over to my house to work on it.
Oh, wow.
And likewise, there is another band from Greece called Ghost Season.
Okay. And
they consulted me on their album. I didn't have, I don't change what people do. I just try to expedite it or tell them a better way to do something so they don't waste studio time, things like this. I try to get what their idea is and try to get it out there in its purest form without meddling. I just will not meddle with people's music. But yes, I do that. And if you are interested in something like that, or bettering yourself or having a different perspective, please hit me up, and I would be willing, if I have enough time on the schedule, to mentor and teach and do songwriting and whatever it takes, whatever you need, as long as it's for the betterment of music.
Yeah.
So you'll see things on my Facebook from time to time where I offer to teach students. I only have 2 days a week that I'll set aside to do that, and it's jlorenmusic@gmail.com.
Oh,
so
we'll definitely put the link.
In the description.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the link. Hey Jay, so I got to get these 2 questions out, and then we can definitely, because I know I want to touch base on you with the sync licensing as well, because we definitely looked that up and we did our homework on it, and we definitely want to talk to you about that. Definitely touch base with you about that. Your music is grand, on a grand scale. For me, in my opinion, your music is on a grand scale. I look at it. I'll listen to HURT songs and I can play it out in my head like a video. Mm-hmm. Like I have my own vision of it. Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about maybe, trying to make a story, not a story, but like putting it out there for like maybe Broadway, or trying to make it into something where it could touch more people? Because sometimes I'll let people hear, like you heard House Carpenter the other day and you were like, and you're not a rock guy. No. You know what I'm saying? And I've always felt like more people should hear HURT or hear Jay or hear some of the stuff that they do. And it's like, have you ever thought about other outreaches to put it out? Because I've always seen it as not a play, you know what I'm saying, like Shakespearean play, but like with your music in the background and just telling a story to those songs. Not your personal story, but a story that you would feel like would fit those songs. Or do you feel like that would be a conflict of interest with your fans when it comes to the music?
No, I don't think it would be. The problem is, again, it's financial. And then as you bring that up, I had considered doing a project, which is a video project, where we come up with storyboards, and as long as we can do a high-quality version, giving representations and full credit to an up-and-coming film producer / whatever it takes. This requires, we've got the holy trinity of good, fast, and cheap. Yeah. All right, so you can already take away expensive, right? Because I don't have it, and it's got to be good. So it'll be a while, whatever it is. Anyway, so if I would be open to that, and if there are any people that know what they're doing, and let's just say that they're at a beginning level where they're trying to get into the film industry. I have worked with beginner producers before, and then now they are well known. So there has been advantages as far as doing a sort of internship style thing, and I would be willing to work with them. Again, hit me up at jlorenmusic@gmail.com if that's something that you'd like to work on with me. I would share the credit and whatever we can do.
Because your music fits in a sense of a not, I don't want to say tragedy, but it's very real and it's in depth, and you feel that pain from some of your songs, and you hear it in your voice, and you hear it in your lyrics. And I've always pictured it like, oh my God, I can imagine seeing this going, like, like if you ever seen Phantom of the Opera, and I hope you don't take offense to that, like just going to see, like you go see Phantom of the Opera and you hear those songs and certain songs and you go, okay, that fits. Yeah. A lot of HURT songs, like I've always seen House Carpenter at the end of a play as a song that fits to a sort of tragic story, and I was always like, yo, if they ever decide to do that.
I have a very clear vision of visuals for that particular song. Yeah. And it would never be exactly what the song is written about, but I can also alter my perception. And no, I would never be angry at you for comparing me to Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. He doesn't write the most difficult compositions, but they're good. He's got something. Yeah. That guy's, And
you got some of the... You got some of the most dedicated fans, because if I didn't get to show you the videos. There are fan-made videos of HURT songs that are like kind of really well put together. I don't know if you've seen any, Jay. I don't know if you're cool with some of your fans.
I saw this one for Pills, and man, that was powerful.
Some of these videos are fucking amazing.
Somebody did one for Overdose. Yeah. Wow. I mean, just wow. And that's not... I don't even know how to express how flattered I am by that. That's not imitation. That's the whole nother thing. They made art with art, and I'm just blown away by it. And I'm not too much of a visual artist. I stick with just the music and the composition. I write, I'll write commercials, and my music's been used for like the trailers for like the A-Team. Talk about Rapture. That was the bumper music for Howard Stern for a while.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and my voice, my violin shows up all over the place. I charge the usual. My friend my cost for friends is a bottle of whiskey, and it's Jim Beam whiskey too. So that's my price, my friendly price. But when it comes to commercial work, I do manage to make ends meet with that.
Wow.
But when we're talking about music as art, if you recall in the song "Thank You for Listening," and you were talking about it, and I think that you actually got to kind of the poignant part of the music. I said, I believe in what is real. Mm-hmm. The only thing is pain, and that's so real. Yeah. Well, that's for me, right? At that moment, because I'm a temporal being like the rest of us. But there are two elements. There's the tragedy, and then there's the comedy. And at some point, I actually got to work in the comedy, which you guys had talked about before the show.
That song is like because I'm gonna save the last question. Okay. The question I want to ask the most is the last one I'm gonna save. I definitely want to wait before, but with the flowers, right?
Yes.
Flowers was hilarious for me because I felt like I knew what you were trying to do. You were trying to lighten the mood. Like you were just trying to explain to people, hey, look. That's life. Yeah. Shit is the way it is. Life goes on. And then with Flowers, it was like, and it's funny because you don't know Flowers is on the album
until you get to that.
So one day, I'm playing the song and I kind of fell asleep after That's Such a Thing, and it's still playing, and all I hear is Jay singing. I go, what the fuck? And I'm fast forwarding. I'm like, am I hearing things? And I'm like, oh shit, there's a song on here. Yeah. I start cracking up like 4 or 5 in the morning.
The first question I asked Ray when I heard it, I was like, yo, did he freestyle that shit?
He literally thought you just
pretty much. Yeah.
He did. Like, if he freestyled this shit, this is phenomenal. Like,
I don't know. Where did you come up with that? Was that just something you were just like, oh, fuck it, let's do this?
Well, I had started writing this song, and I always do a gut check. I'd started writing the song, and it turned into just another sad dirge of a song, man. And I'm like, I don't want the world to be filled with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I want to but I have to be sincere.
Yeah.
So that was my version of sincerity, because my little Italian grandmother told me probably the most important thing that I've ever heard in my life. She said she always spoke softly, but if she raised her voice even a notch, everybody would stop and listen to her.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I noticed that, and she said, well, if you always yell, no one will hear you, she says. But when I raise my voice, everyone listens. Mm-hmm. And in the same way, if you always talk about bad things, that becomes the norm. And I don't want that to be the norm. Yeah. In every song, there's hope. In every song, there's a way out or an analysis of something. Mm-hmm. It's one of the hardest things that I've ever run into, where I've gotten back that somebody killed themselves while listening to one of my songs. Yeah. Now, that's one of the hardest things to bear.
Yeah.
And not only was I careful to always put a glimmer of hope in just about every song, but one of them I didn't, and that's the song that keeps haunting me to this day. And now I'm even more careful about making sure that if I didn't say it at the time, I can't take back what was done. But what I can say is, every time someone speaks to me, life is more than worth living. Yeah. It is beautiful because it is a commodity like anything else, and it is a very, very precious commodity.
Yeah.
And you can't buy another minute. So life is very much worth living. And even if you take just the practical approach, why would you take a functional piece of meat and turn it into nothing? I mean, just the practicality of it. Trust me, even if you're out there and you just cannot see or feel what I mean, you know I'm right. Hang in there, guys. Hang in there. It does get better, and even if it doesn't, you and I will be here together, okay?
Yeah.
That's real shit. Wow. Yeah. That made me feel better.
What kind of worries me is, like, I hope it's not any song that one of my favorite songs. Like, Jesus, man. Oh, man. So let's get to the sync licensing, guys. Come on.
I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit more about this, because almost artists. Well, yeah, I'm not an artist compared to you, man. I'm like the bird on the wall.
Everyone is an artist. It's just a matter of, are you recognized as such?
This is true. What are your feelings on sync licensing? I know we spoke briefly about it, but I want you to go a little more in depth with us now, because you did also let us know through the sync licensing you didn't receive any, you weren't able to monetize off of it. I'm gonna let you take the ball from there.
And especially help the fans understand sync licenses, because it took me and Dre run up on it, but I don't think a lot of people know too much on sync licenses, because I didn't know much on it as well until Dre started sending me the links, until you spoke to me about it as well that day on the phone. So when I looked it up, and I was going, holy shit, and I was going back and forth with Dre text. I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. I know you.
The other thing I wonder is, do you feel like sync licensing hurts people who are assigned to majors, or does it hurt people who are indie as well?
It hurts musicians all across the board as we've moved into the digital age. And if you wouldn't mind, if you edit, go back and give a better explanation, especially correct me if I say anything wrong.
Okay.
But what a sync license is basically I make a product, right? I write the song. Traditionally, a record company buys the manifestation of that song, the recording of the song, but the use of it belongs to me. Like, for instance, I get to veto the use of it in inappropriate situations. Like if somebody were to take Rapture and try to put it for a white supremacist group or something like that, it's important that I have the ability to veto that, and I can stop them from doing that.
Okay.
You know, that would never happen under my control.
Okay.
That it's not something I would, and it's something I feel very viscerally about. And I've told you to what length I will go to make sure that the music is pure.
Yes.
So anyway, what a sync license is as screwed as musicians were before, now that we've moved into the digital age, YouTube, particularly YouTube, but other companies now owned by Google, paid the major labels for a sync license, which in its simplest explanation is they take my work, that cost me $100,000 per album that I had to find money for and work. They take my work, put it up, and combine it with a screen, even if that screen is my copyrighted logo. Then they call it a different entity, as in it's not my intellectual property. They say that they have created a new unique intellectual property. Now, we know this is bullshit, because if you put it up with a normal film, that music is your music and that film is their film.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of compensating people for it, what they did was they paid the majors undisclosed amounts of money for their entire catalog's repertoire. And then they signed an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, that the artist could never know how much money had transpired between them.
Yeah.
The problem is they were selling something that wasn't theirs in the first place.
There was no lawsuits that could be put in place for that?
Well, one of the few things I can say, I don't see eye to eye with this gentleman most times, but Irving Azoff, he's a music mogul, and I believe he represents artists such as Christina Aguilera and quite a few other very popular artists. He's going to bat with them, but I mean, someone of my musical stature, I don't have a chance in hell going to sue Google. I mean, it's just not going to happen, man.
Yeah.
So let's put it this way. I struggle to make ends meet, and I don't mind. I'm not doing this in order to complain. But if I'd been a contributor to YouTube, let's just say I made a blog where I just talk or something like that, and I get to monetize my channel in such a way that any other contributor did, I would get 1 to 2 cents per click off of the monetized channel.
Yeah.
And I know, for instance, York Sprav, the guy from the Slingshot channel. I invite you guys to check it out. It's just a wonderfully entertaining channel where he makes all these crazy slingshots. All right, so this guy is pulling in about 8,000 euros a month from, his legitimately good work and entertaining show, just like you guys put on. Unfortunately, I don't get any of that. Wow. I'm not only does it cost me more money to make something, I don't get compensated for it. And other people who've sold my work that didn't belong to them get compensated from it. And then when I complain about it, then I'm threatened by Google and YouTube. They say that they'll remove my music from all of their sites. So there again, I'm faced with, would I rather have people listen to music that I make or not? Wow, so which, of course, do I choose?
Sucks,
but it's not right.
Yeah.
So as we've moved into the digital age, it was already hard enough on musicians selling the albums and things like this. They're already hosed out of that. But now people, let me tell you what I made a quarter, like by 3 months, a quarter off of YouTube. I don't even know how they justify paying me something. It was, I think, $1.97. Now, if I'd been any other contributor, I asked a fan who does web matrixing, and I don't understand it, but she's a brilliant lady.
Yeah.
but I asked her to do a matrix. So she ran through, and a cursory search yielded that if I'd been paid like any other contributor to YouTube, then YouTube would owe me $86,000 at the minimum.
Wow.
Right. So that's what's going on. That's what people are doing to the artists.
And this is because of the agreement between YouTube and Capital
and other companies. And in some cases, I've seen companies that had nothing to do with even being an affiliate of an appropriate organization, who basically came in, planted their flag, and then I am the registered copyright holder, and etc. I've got all the paperwork. I try to show it to them, and these guys are getting royalty checks off of my music, and they do this to other people too, and they have nothing to do with the music at all.
Yeah.
So believe me, whenever I say go ahead and listen to my music, and I ask you to put a link in, I'm not doing that because it makes me money. I want you to hear the music. Yeah. That's what I care about, and I couldn't prove it any more than saying I actually don't make any money off of it.
Fucking horrible, man. That's fucking crazy, man.
But no, it's not horrible, because you know what? I have this platform where somebody actually gives a fuck what I think. Yeah. Somebody gives a fuck what I do, and for that, there's no amount of money that makes up for that. I've got sincere gratitude.
Yeah, you really do. So you done with your think like this?
I mean, it just scary. Honestly, it's kind of like scary as fuck to know, like, you spend your life creating and crafting these sounds and putting so much into this art, and someone else
has control of it.
Yeah.
And they literally.
On top of that, what if somebody put a black screen over your podcast and then profited from it? You could not profit from it, and if you complained about it, they threatened to remove.
Which doesn't change. It's not even like you say, hey, you know what? We'll send you X, Y, and Z. You're telling me I'm going to take it down, and you're still not getting anything.
Absolutely.
But I think the sync issue has become bigger than what it is lately. I think a couple of other artists have been talking up about what's been going on lately about it.
I haven't.
It's not a well-known topic. That's why I wanted to bring it up with you, gentlemen.
Yeah, but a few more artists are bringing it up more. A little bit more well-known artists. I've seen a couple of other people talking about what's been going on about sync licenses, and it's starting to roll, and a lot of other people are starting to pay attention to it and going, "Yo, what the fuck is going on?"
I see a lot of the indie artists that I'm friends with, like they'll utilize like sync licensing through like maybe like CD Baby, couple of other websites, third-party websites that help you get your music into like commercials, YouTube, whatever the case may be. And I've even had a song on like a TV show on Amazon or some shit like that. I can't even remember. And I've made like a little bit of money. That's why I asked, do you feel like it helps more if you're an indie artist and you're utilizing it rather than being on a major where like the major is handling those things? As an indie, you have more control over it.
It depends. It definitely needs better oversight, because in a situation like that, yes, ideally, but what could happen is a third party could come in and plant their flag, claim it's theirs, and just because they got there first, nobody's going to be, you can't say otherwise. They won't investigate it, and they'll just shut the whole thing down. So either they get paid or your stuff gets taken down. That could happen.
Yeah.
So know your stuff. If you indie artists out there, know your stuff and make sure that you put in all your paperwork, all your permissions and rights, have it ready to go whenever you put it down there. And I want to just do a little gut check here. $86,000, how can this guy be hurting for money? That's over 4 years of primarily the views that I'm getting on the internet. So if you take $86,000 over 4 years in my entire repertoire, I mean, that's not a handsome living, but it would have been enough for me to make another album.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's not at all.
I mean, you're owed what you're owed. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It's just what's yours is yours.
Yeah. It's a slap in the face when they're making money off of my ideas, my expenses, and then not only just not compensating me for it, threatening me with my own work.
Wow. I just did the math, man. It's about $344,000.
Wow. Just fucking
over 4 years.
Wow.
So anyway, that's enough about the business side. So, you're into martial arts, right? What's your style? Are you a jiu-jitsu guy?
Did we just switch the interview? No, I've been in Shotokan karate since I was 10. But the thing is, my sensei was teaching us all styles. So he taught us jiu-jitsu, hapkido, Shotokan, a little bit of kung fu. We doing kickboxing, mixed boxing. He did with him, his name was Mr. Brown. He was our dean at IS 44. It was on 79th Street in Manhattan. Some people probably know Mr. Brown. His son-in-law works with Floyd Mayweather now. So everybody who knows Mr. Brown knows who I'm talking about. His thing was he wanted to make sure that we were able to get home safe. Or if we were in a situation where we knew how to defend ourselves. Like, he taught us, and it was rough. Let me tell you something. Rough. Every time we messed up, we didn't move as a group. We did push-ups on our knuckles. And some of the training was extreme, but that was able to help us defend ourselves. Or God forbid something was happening to our family members, or God forbid something would happen to us in the streets. We knew what to do. So I've always been grateful to that man, especially since I didn't ever grow up without my father, and I always looked at him as a father figure. So everything he taught me, I've always been grateful towards that. So, and I still take those lessons to this day.
I just wanted to quickly draw a comparison here. I believe that in order to be a well-rounded individual, you should respect, forms of art as what they are, which is forms of art which make you a well-rounded person. Yeah. You know, just like anyone who's educated on the topic, that is so much more about your discipline and the way you behave than about smashing somebody's face.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so music is to you the same kind of art, the same kind of balance in your life. And that is why, in a nutshell, I give music lessons. I'm not able to get qualified instruction. Now, I've been quite a fighter all my life. I'm an unorthodox style fighter. There's a reason why I typically will walk around in concerts without a security guard. I'm fine. Now, that does not mean that I want to instigate, and I will always do, just as you know to do, I will always try to avoid those situations, but I've never actually been compromised in those situations. And I just want to say how important it is that young men with that drive and that energy and all the angst inside them, they find a healthy outlet, just like music was for me, or martial arts, so that they can learn the discipline and the art of being a Renaissance man. That age of reason thing we talked about, how the world actually advanced, that was when people started learning multiple disciplines and starting to respect each other. And I think that that's going to make the world a better place. So please, anybody out there, do not underestimate the beauty that martial arts can bring to the life of people.
Don't underestimate Jay. Jay might whoop your ass one day.
Well, I certainly would not like to even try. I don't even want to go there, and I've made personal vows to. That part of the knuckle tattoos was so that I wouldn't lay my hands on another, and I haven't. I don't. I did once since then. But anyway, but what's great is, I was on the road with Taproot. I don't know if you know those guys.
Yeah, of course.
But Phil, the bassist, he's semi-pro at jiu-jitsu.
Oh, really?
And we would train together. I learned so much from him, and I happen to excel at striking. But jiu-jitsu's not all about striking.
Yeah, it's more about taking your opponent's strength.
And it was such a healthy outlet. We would go backstage, and all I had was just a bag of my personal belongings and clothes, and I would use that as a block bag. And we would go back and forth, and he showed me so much. I really wish I would have spent more time as a youth instead of being more into the kickboxing side. I wish I would have learned from somebody who had the well-rounded discipline to teach you about your character, not just about how to use your body.
So Jay, there's usually a segment where it's called Tell Them Why You're Mad. It's where I talk about daily topics that goes on in the world that tells why I'm frustrated. So I think today is going to be Tell Them Why You're Grateful. So,
Wonderful.
All right, so look, I'm gonna say this. Look, as a fan, as a man who respects another man, and as an individual who's been inspired by you, by your words and your music, I want to say thank you. Your music, in particular, I hope you don't mind me talking about these two songs, House Carpenter and Alone with the Sea. Those songs mean absolutely the world to me. Those two songs have gotten me through so many tumultuous times and hard times and times where I really didn't think I was gonna make it. Those songs have gotten me through those occasions. Those songs have helped me train. Those songs have helped me not let situations get out of hand. Those songs have saved, and I can clearly say those songs have saved my life, because there's pain and there's suffering, but at the same time I was able to learn through that pain and suffering, use that pain and suffering as a kind of strength for me to get up and keep going and keep moving and keep doing what I have to do. And I use those songs as energy and ways to keep me as strong. So my thing is, thank you. Honestly, God, Jay, thank you. Thank you for doing this show. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to talk to us and giving us the opportunity to talk to you. At the end of the day, all I can do is extend my hand of friendship to you and just say thank you. Because at the end of the day, you have my utmost respect and you have my dedication to you as a fan. At the end of the day, you have no idea. Your words, your music, your lyrics have helped me a lot. And at the end of the day, I am grateful for that. And I can't say thank you enough. I don't even think me saying thank you would be enough. And I hope to God one day I will be able to repay you for that. Honestly, God, thank you. And thank you for those songs as well.
Well, anyway, you already have, because the most beautiful words in the world mean nothing if they fall on no ears. Mm-hmm. So it very much works the same way for me. Without you listening and truly taking something to heart, my life is pointless. Mm-hmm. And I take the same strength and encouragement from knowing that somebody cares about my thoughts and my feelings and relates to me. And when I feel alone, I know I'm not alone. The Numbers, that song, I don't know if you remember it, that deals with that. It talked about how messed up the record companies are, but I'm like, we are the numbers, and it's an encouragement. As isolated as I get, and I'll tend to fall into my own little world of despair and other things, but I try to find it and find the strength to make it out. But it really, knowing that someone out there cares and listens, that's what helps me make it out. So really, the gratitude is probably more from my side. It works both ways. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Thank you, Gary. I think that's. I don't think there's any other way we could wrap the show up.
Well, I just want to say to Jay, man, like I said when we first spoke on the phone, I wasn't aware of Hurt. I wasn't aware of yourself. Honestly, after sitting here with you for this hour and a half, I'm a fan of you as a person.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, as a person, because you held no punches with us. You held not one punch with us, and that's what we appreciate 100%. And like I said, just like that guy came to you and said, you remind me of Nickelback. Sitting here listening to you and listening to how passionate you are about your art and about this music that you create. You remind me of Joe Buttons, and that's something that I hold dearly in my heart. So Jay, man, if you need me to share something on Facebook about anything, you need me to go and stand online and promote a project, you need Ray and Dre to dedicate a show to Hurt, man, you got it. Because you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do this.
Thank you. And if you recall, the only thing I asked in return was, when you guys get to be huge, make sure to give unknown bands a platform so they get.
Ray actually told me when we was walking into the studio that you said that, and I was like, "You got it."
That's what I sincerely want.
Jay, I hope we can definitely stay in touch, and I hope you definitely could come back on the show whenever you want, and
right.
Please, we would love to have you come back on, because there's so many more questions, so many more topics that we want to get onto.
Matter of fact, if you're willing, I can replace Ray with you.
I love this show. I swear to God, I love this show.
Once again, we appreciate you coming on the show and sitting with us, man. I enjoyed every single moment of this.
Thank you. And like I said, I'm not sure what the next thing the world's going to hear from me. Just in case it is a J.Loren thing, try to stay in touch with me on that facet. It's
definitely
slightly as much as I could separate myself from Hurt, which is not really easy to do. I don't, I can't really totally separate myself from Hurt.
Of course.
But a different album's a different album. I did get into. I finally made a Twitter account and a J.Loren official.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in facets of what likely will be the next thing you hear, go ahead and follow me on Facebook.com/J.Loren official, or Twitter, the same thing, J.Loren official, all one word, and it's just the letter J.
Yeah,
okay.
No problem. We're definitely going to put everything down on the link. Everybody can follow and subscribe, and I've definitely been sharing everything about you this whole week. So
I can't wait to show you the world some of the music that I've been working on. It's some of the greatest stuff that I've ever written.
Your fans are sitting there like this, waiting and waiting.
I know.
When they hear this on Monday, they're probably going to hit you up like, no, where is it now?
Now, if I don't come through with this, edit this part out. But I'm considering giving a snippet of one of the new J.Loren songs to you guys for a world premiere. But I need to make sure that it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to step very carefully about this. Okay. So let me work on that. And if I feel it's the right thing to do, then I'll send it to you, and you guys can work in the episode, and then we'll advertise it as with, including an excerpt of J.Loren's new album in the works or something like that.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with, Jay. Like,
I'd say that'll give you guys pretty big jump.
That'll be amazing.
Man, it's not even about that. I just wanted to meet my idol, man. I just want to meet the man I respect. That's all I care about, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and I hope to keep in touch. We'll make this happen. Let me go through my repertoire and see if I can find something beautiful to play for you. Just so you can. It's so hard to talk about music. It's just best to play it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, brothers.
See you.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, man.
Bye.
All right, we want to thank you for tuning in to the Ray and Dre show. We want to thank J.Loren for tuning in. Ray is like,
yeah, I don't even know, man. That man's music, yeah, I feel good. If you guys don't, I know some people might not listen to rock music, but give it a chance. Definitely, some of this music is very powerful lyrics. You might find something you might relate to. Definitely give them a listen to. There's four major albums out there. A few other single stuff, but there's definitely stuff out there for everybody.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in. We want to thank Creative Collective Worldwide, Indigo Studios. Make sure you tune in Monday. Every Monday. Make sure you tune in. If a show doesn't come up, just go to the YouTube and listen to the other stuff that we put out.
Don't worry, we got stuff in the works. We probably have
something brewing. And we have a couple of things lined up. Once again, I go by the name of Dre Man.
I am Raymond Vicious.
This is the Ray and Dre Show. Thank you for listening. Wow.
I'd kill myself, but then one day you went too. God, what I'd do. With the tablet down, we can find a way back home. If the rain comes down, we'll get soaked to the bone, but I won't care, 'cause I'll be there. What's the use if I'm crawling around picture that's overwhelming, just to know that I just won't see you again. Overwhelming, just to know that I won't see you. But for a moment I was hoping I could just see you again. But for a moment I was hoping you would see me. My problems now. Na na na.